I'm Natasha, and
I'm Red.
together we are Syllojism, a science, culture, and philosophy challenge podcast on the edge of chaos.
This week's challenge had to be postponed due to unforeseen circumstances. However, we recorded this bonus episode about a month after we started podcasting. The challenge this week was to watch a blooper reel in an attempt to improve the listener's experience. For more irreverent disfluencies, make sure you subscribe to the newsletter and podcast, both available at theorygang.substack.com. Enjoy!
This is clearly not for publication.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. Okay. Our next challenge is the challenge, we'll call it. The challenge is to listen to a terrible blooper reel of ourselves that I spliced together from one episode and understand all of our disfluencies and how annoying we can be when we talk, and then try to improve on it. So we've decided to do this little extra tidbit because I was editing these videos and I wanted to kill myself and you. I wanted to simultaneously strangle both of us to get us to stop using filler words. So I had this idea that we would watch ourselves and just be mortified about it. And then we would watch a how-to video and do a little bit of practice. Completely unprepared. I literally just made this up this morning. So let's get into it.
I have no idea what I'm going to see, except I did see a little snippet that you posted of some of your edits of more me than you making really, really bad sounds.
Well, you do dominate the conversation. I will say that.
Well, you should see the leather mask I have somewhere in the background. Let's go.
I have to edit it. So, okay, let me present to you. Let's see how I can do this. Let me present to you your bloopers.
So,
it's like, right? Like,
and so,
and so I think, like we're
and so,
what is an answer?
Well, I think, so interestingly,
right? Like I have to say, and so,
society and, society is a blooper.
But, is, it's,
so then, well, let me take a look at, so from a,
I'm
horrible.
Like today,
and so, I can't even say everything I want to say about it. I would need a 5-hour podcast.
Like I don't,
and so, was this like 5 minutes of conversation? Some of,
it's still going.
Oh my God.
There's more.
I think that,
like, and then,
I think, and so,
like I feel like,
and so I've noticed,
I think,
you have,
it's absolute chaos. I think that's what happens here. Oh my God. I'm crying.
So it is about, I would say it is about, 70% me, at least in that edit, which I'm sure you slanted in your favor.
No, false. But I will say it was particularly heavy in that, but I only did half that episode. So that was from an hour-long episode. I had about 3 whole minutes of bloopers. And what I noticed, my observations, you like to say, well, and an occasional, but it's a curt, and then mine are, so is the worst of mine. Like, I mean, obviously we can see our folly. Everyone will see it.
And this concludes the reaction video, because I'm getting a flight to Aokigahara right now. I'm going to find myself some dude who hung himself in a forest, and I'm going to party in Japan for my last breath, because that was pretty bad.
Okay.
What I'd like to do is talk about why it is that those things happen.
I think what we should do first is watch The Cure, and then you will have an opportunity to explain.
Okay, so is this how, like, I take the vaccine and then only find out later on that it caused my? Is that...
You will now have HIV.
I have HIV. I can't believe it. I mean.
So we'll watch this, and he has a little exercise for us to do, in which time you will be able to.
This is a team building exercise, actually. I think
it is gang building.
Yo.
What's this dude's name? I don't even know this motherfucking name, but I picked this one out of several because A, he looks like he's getting a prostate exam, and B, he has a fun little exercise. So this is a 4-minute video, and we won't actually watch the whole thing, but we'll watch the beginning.
In this video, I'm going to teach you how to eliminate the annoying habit of filling all the silences in your speech with or ah or some other sound. This is okay in ordinary conversation. In fact, in ordinary conversation, if we don't fill the silences with a sound like or ah, other people will think we're done with our turn at talk, and they'll take a turn at talk. So I may have developed this skill in order to maintain my turn at talk, but in public speaking or lecturing or any other style that's not ordinary conversation, ums and ahs sound unprofessional, and they're disfluencies. They make us seem like we don't know exactly what we're doing, and they don't make us look good. I was reading a book recently, a book called Lend Me Your Ears by Max Atkinson. It's a great book about public speaking. And in that book, Atkinson suggests a simple exercise to improve your fluency and eliminate these ums and ahs. And the exercise is this. He says, set a timer for 1 minute, take a video camera, just use your phone, make a video of yourself speaking extemporaneously off the cuff for 1 minute, and see if you can not say or ah even once. So that's the challenge.
Why did I agree to this?
Because you love me.
Of course.
So I have another video for us to watch as well, if we'd like to, at the end of this with specifics. Okay. What I was thinking is we would do this first, test ourselves, and then we'll watch the second video to see if it improved any of our disfluencies. Let me set my timer. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I could go first. I should probably think of something to talk about. And so the problem I think I would have is when we're talking and we already have an idea of what we're talking about, we're set. But right now, I don't know the hell I'm gonna talk about. So now I gotta pull something out of my booty.
Well, you just said you wanted to talk about the things that you wanted to talk about disfluency itself. So that's an option. Okay, you ready? I'm gonna set.
Okay, so I am not going to record myself recording. I'm not going to record you, recording me. So hold on, wait a second. Let's get meta in this bitch.
Are you ready?
All right, hold on.
Get them all out.
Wait, hold on. Okay, I think I'm pretty. I think I may have found my power animal.
Righty then. And we're off.
Okay. One of the reasons that I think that the disfluencies happen with such regularity is that I am wondering how it is the thing that I'm going to say next is going to sound to an audience. Part of what I'm trying to do is make sure that it's something that's digestible, that there are things that I can say. So I'm oftentimes thinking about what kind of words are going to be okay to use, because I can be really, out there with the way that I use language. I'm then also concerned because I have this really dark side of my humor that I have to partition from the rest of the world, that I might say things that may get me on a watch list. And so I find myself, I did it right there. I find myself censoring a lot and very concerned that what I'm going to say is both makes sense. I'm done. Okay,
Yep,
good.
you're done.
That's it.
So
that's my biggest concern. It's is it going to make sense? Am I going to go off on too big of a tangent? And is it going to be offensive?
Yes,
so this is the guy. Remember,
yes.
We did the video where the guy is sitting behind me and it's me watching myself, and then all the eyes around me. It's this inability to feel like you're really able to talk in an unconstrained way, because there is inside me an extra observer. So there's the conversation that you and I are having, there are the ideas, and then there's the perception of those ideas and how it's coming across, that I think are occupying a lot of intellectual space, such that it interrupts the continuity of the conversation. And I think I need to relax more. I think that's a big problem for me.
So you did a good job there. I only counted 2 so's, and I want you to count when I do it as well.
Okay.
But I only started counting halfway through.
I probably fucked it up. I front loaded all my fuck ups.
You backloaded them?
Okay, well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And I think, well, getting comfortable is going to help. And we should also be able to do those things a little bit.
Yes.
Because they are a normal part of human speech, and not having those available could be an issue. One other idea that I have about it is that very often, because we're speaking, even though we've read the material, you and I haven't talked about our ideas yet, and a lot of times the ideas are coming through at the same time. So I've got a fragment of a thought that winds up being built upon and extrapolated upon in the middle of the speech. And so I don't even necessarily know exactly where it's going to go. And I think one of the things that I'm doing also is I'm trying to avoid saying something with an absolute certainty. The well is when I'm going to contradict you.
Absolutely.
I think you might have had a brain fart there. Let me see. Well,
Sometimes you say, well, yes.
Well, yes.
Well, yes.
But sometimes I go, well, and if I draw it out like that, it definitely means you and I are going to be at odds. But other things are me just trying to, I'm thinking aloud, but I'm not really sure, because I don't even know necessarily what I'm going to say yet.
Right. 2 so's, 1 and 1 you know. That's not bad.
Wow, you're like, holy shit, you've got a scoreboard.
All right, you want to do me now?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, you're on.
Some of the reasons why I find my disfluencies is because I don't want to say things definitively. Unlike you say you don't want to say things definitively, but I really try not to say things definitively. Maybe it's a feminine characteristic. When I say, I think, then I'm trying to put forth ideas without making them too concrete. The other one I wanted to use right there was so.
All right, so that doesn't count because you stopped yourself though, so check mark.
I swallowed really hard when I did that. It sounded bad. When I say so, it's a transitory word. I'm trying to draw a connection from one thing to the next. So just seems to fit there, but there could be nothing there as well. It's really hard for me not to say so. That's probably the hardest one. The other one that's hard for me not to say is, it's definitely a filler word, and I'm seeking validation.
You're good, so stop. You can continue talking if you want to talk about the ideas, because I think it makes sense to continue. But in terms of how you did, you only represented yourself as using these things. You didn't actually do them. So you were absolutely perfect.
It was really hard.
And I do want to say that you're so good at swallowing that should be played multiple times. I guess we're learning so many new things about each other.
We are.
But yeah, I was very impressed. You did not fuck up even once. You're better than me.
It was hard. It was hard. And that's why I've got my "That's What She Said" mug.
As she takes a swallow. So
but you're right. We are having a real-time conversation. And in that, not only do I not want to be super definitive, because I've noticed you make almost every single episode, you say, well, that's wrong.
Well, I like doing that though, because I can see that if I follow the logic of what someone is saying versus what I know to be real as a man who says shit definitively, yeah, I'm gonna call a bitch out. Stephen Jay Gould was fucked up. He was fucked up in ways that weren't quite as bad as Freud, but he was definitely on a Freudian soul train, I think. And Kaczynski has some interesting things going on in that, but where they're wrong, they're just motherfucking wrong. I'm talking about the ideas, but I have the chutzpah to contradict somebody and tell you wrong.
We're on the ASMR train now with the chutzpah.
That's right. Oh yes, oh my God. Oh, you're so fucking wrong, baby. Be wrong harder, baby. Oh yes.
I don't know what this is gonna be. It's gonna be a laugh track.
I'm glad you're amused.
The other problem with what we're doing is we are accustomed to this format via book club. And in book club, there's oftentimes a need to fill space because someone will motherfucking jump in. When we have a conversation is meant for a pair, according to our buddy Emerson. But when we're in conversation with 9 or even 4 or even 3, someone is waiting in the wings to jump in and fill in the gap. Unless, of course, someone finishes a statement and no one was actually listening. The other thing I wanted to mention was my use of the word "like." I think I have a very conversational tone, even when I'm teaching or lecturing. And the point of saying "like" is to be a little bit more colloquial. I've had several people listen to the podcast, and I just shared it with my aunt, who is very religious, and I love her dearly, and she's brilliant, but I'm mortified.
Does she think that we're both going to hell in a handbasket?
Well, if you don't accept Jesus Christ, then yes, obviously, but not because of our swearing. Our swearing is just a consequence of not accepting Jesus Christ. Because if you accept Jesus Christ, you wouldn't swear so much, you wouldn't be gay, you wouldn't do all these things. So I'm mortified of my language. I use the word "fuck" so many times in that Emerson.
I think "fuck's" a filler for you.
Swearing is a disfluency for me, probably, but also I'm using it intentionally sometimes. Not really, actually. I've never used it intentionally, but I do appreciate it about myself because I think it lends a colloquialism to very, very heavy intellectual topics where people are going to feel like, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And then you throw in a "what the fuck," and I think people feel a little bit more at ease. Not immediately repulsed by the word.
I think most of the secular audience likely to listen to this is very amused by the use of the word. And something else I would say too, and I've kind of talked about this in the background, we are dealing with very dense intellectual topics, and we're doing all this stuff at a level that could be very alienating to lots and lots of people. But the thing I think that we're good at that differentiates us from a lot of the typical intellectual podcasts is that we're willing to have fun with the ideas. And you can see that we are having a good time with them. We're not just theorizing and expounding and making declarations to try to make ourselves seem like we're an authoritative source. We're engaging with the ideas in a way that's playful. And language, like there's something special about curse words that apparently, and I wish I had a source, and I wasn't ready to even think about this yet. But
I'll put it in the
put it in the motherfucking show notes. I just did it. There's something about forbidden language, curse words, that activates different areas of the brain. It's kind of, it has an immediate emotional impact that almost expresses something like physiological. It's more direct, and anybody who hears that can relate to it in a way that is almost, I want to say,
nice. I like that. Nice sigh instead of a filler.
Yeah. I was thinking about swallowing, but apparently that's your thing. So hold on. Yeah. Oh, let me get it. Let me get it in there. Mix it up. But there's something about it that actually seems to work underneath abstract language, and it gets at something visceral that people can connect with. And so I think I said, and so this is not going to be perfect.
Practice. You have to practice swallowing. That's how I got through it.
Yeah. So I think there's something both playful about it, that lets people feel like it's okay to maybe make mistakes or draw inferences that maybe don't even make any sense, to be exploratory, because we're inviting people to do that along with us, because that's exactly what we're doing. And it also hits at something emotional underneath all of the intellectual abstraction. So I think that there's something actually quite valuable to those kinds of words, and we should thank all of the religious fanatics and the Puritans for giving us the kind of language that has a forbiddenness that also allows us to make these kinds of connections.
Absolutely. People love contradiction. They are fascinated by it. And people will look at someone talking and giving a lecture and they'll be put to sleep. But when we're talking about it and we throw a "see you next Tuesday" in there, actually, I don't think we've used that one. Cunt. There we go.
Thank you.
When we throw a cunt in there, it's a lot more interesting, because we don't expect Emerson to talk about a cunt.
No. And you don't.
No, he don't.
No, he doesn't. Gould, on the other hand, was definitely a cunt, and he was fascinated with cunts.
Wow. So you just
which is good, because if you're going to fight with E.O. Wilson, you better bring it.
Yeah.
Just say.
Yeah. Willie's got the
willy.
So it's fitting. Well, okay. Shall we watch the next video?
Yeah, I suppose so.
This one I watched briefly. I didn't watch the full thing, but I thought it would be good because there were quite a few tips that this lovely bearded man had. Can you see my screen? So
yeah, he's definitely not getting a prostate exam. He looks like he just finished his prostate exam. You see that expression?
Are you ready? Oh, he's got the kissy face.
Or my hero Terry Gross use filler words. If you listen to them for more than a few minutes, it's not a huge deal if it only happens occasionally. The problem is when your speech becomes so full of filler words that people start to get annoyed by it, and then they just start counting each. If you think that might be the case for you, then up next, I've got a few tips on how to stop saying like, and other common filler words. So you might be wondering why we use filler phrases to begin with. Well, think of that little spinning circle on your computer when it's trying to load information. Our brains are basically like computers, and when your mind is trying to connect one word to the next word, often there's a space that gets created that filler phrases naturally rush in to fill. Filler words hurt presentations, but even if you're not presenting, the way you speak affects how people perceive you. Of course, we've all heard that stereotypical Valley Girl accent where someone says "like" after every other word. Regardless of whether it's true or not, overusing filler words can make you seem uncertain or less intelligent. Now you're probably wondering how to avoid filler words exactly. Well, here are a few of my favorite techniques. Number one, get comfortable with silence. Silence is the reason that we use filler words to begin with. We try to fill the silence in our speech with words because we worry what it would sound like if we didn't. We worry that what people will think of us. We worry that they'll think we've lost track of what we were saying, to let it sink in. Ooh. Number two, record yourself speaking. If you're not sure if you use a lot of ums and ahs in your speech, then a good place to start is by recording yourself speaking for a few minutes naturally. And most cell phones have a recording app that you can use, so it's fairly easy to do. If you don't have access to a microphone or a recording device, you can also just practice speaking a little bit louder than you normally would. And this alone is a powerful tool to let you start to recognize some of those filler words in your vocabulary. Number 3, replace filler words with the word period or pause.
And that's all period.
Period.
Imagine you're ending the sentence with a period each time you pause in your speech. The words
That's what we
period
need to
or
do.
I would
pause are
definitely say
great
period,
words to
never
use
pause.
instead of filler words. This is one of my
Period.
favorite techniques, and personally I think it's one of the most powerful, especially if you struggle with ums and ahs between sentences. Start by replacing the word or like with the word period or pause. My favorite fruit is a banana. Period.
Period.
That's because bananas are yellow. Period.
Period.
And number 4, stop and take a breath. Instead of using filler words, just stop and breathe. Taking a breath is a great thing to do when you just need to pause for a second and think of what you're going to say next or think of an answer. Doing this is going to make you seem so much more confident and composed. So instead of saying, I want to get like Chinese food for dinner, try this instead. I want to get Chinese food for dinner. Number 5, name them and shame them.
Tell you.
A great way to become more
I would rather
conscious
go,
of the filler words that you
than
use
do that.
is to make a list of the ones that you use
We're
most
doing a
often.
good job.
Keep
We've
that
shamed
list
each other.
on your desk or somewhere else that you might see it several times a day. The repetition of seeing those filler words will make your brain more aware of them in everyday speech, and you might start to catch yourself right before you use a filler word. So becoming aware of those filler words is really the first step to eliminating them. Everybody has different filler words, so having a list of your own worst offenders can help you recognize what they are and try to avoid them. Number 6, the bell. Have a friend or a family member hold up a bell or pull up an annoying buzzer noise on your phone. Have them listen to you speak, and every time you say or or another filler word, have them ding the bell. You'll want to avoid hearing that annoying noise, so you'll naturally start to use fewer and fewer filler words. And this technique works so well that just 5 minutes a day, every day for a week, can start to condition you. And this idea comes from Toastmaster. If you're interested in taking your public speaking skills to the next level, I would highly recommend finding a Toastmasters chapter in your
Challenge
area.
upcoming.
Yeah.
Number 7, chunk your information. Breaking your speech up into chunks in your head before speaking creates a natural rhythm. You'll say a bunch of words and then pause. Then you'll say some more words and then pause again and then repeat. Like other techniques I've talked about, this one can take a little bit of work to get sounding natural while you're speaking. Number 8, make eye contact. You're less likely to use filler words like and if you're looking someone directly in the eyes. Part of the reason that we use filler words comes from a lack of confidence, but making eye contact with someone can boost our confidence. The next time you're in a meeting, try speaking individually to people one-on-one and look them in the eye when you do it. And see if this helps you use fewer filler words than just speaking to the room as a whole. Number 9, take a few moments to calm yourself down. If you're about to give a big speech, or even if you're just about to give big news to a family member or friend, give yourself a few seconds to calm your nerves before you begin. Take in a deep breath. Number 10, keep your hands out of your pockets. People perceive speakers who use nonverbal communication with gestures as being more confident and more persuasive. If you keep your hands in your pockets, you're missing out on using an important tool, and that's the ability to use gestures to emphasize your speech. Having your hands in your pockets
I
also
even had to
makes
say
you look
there
and feel
because,
insecure. The less
crotch
confident you
shot.
feel,
There you go.
the more filler words you're
Calm
probably
down.
going to
Take a deep
use.
breath.
Number 11, keep your sentences short. So you've probably listened to someone who seems to do a lot of talking without actually getting any information across. The longer your sentences are, the more likely it is that fillers are going to slip in there. Short sentences sound a lot more confident and a lot more forceful. Plus, they get the message across more clearly. In addition to cutting out filler words, you should also cut out hedge words like probably, sort of, just, hopefully. Number 12, preparation is key. If you're giving a big speech, practice it in your head and practice it out loud several times before you actually deliver it. And finally, number 13, realize that you are your own worst critic. Most of the time, nobody can tell that you're nervous. A 3-second pause can feel like an eternity when you're talking, but to the other people in the meeting with you, it can seem completely natural and probably will go unnoticed.
I think some of these, I mean, some of these are applicable, but then other ones, maybe we can just gloss over and keep the goof
Period.
that we said in there. Period. Period.
I'm not gonna lie, I do say period in my mind. Since I saw this video, I was like,
Really?
the thing I didn't see in this video that I saw in another one was when you're finished speaking, lift your chin or swallow. I can't deal with it.
This is gonna be a funny video.
Should we do another 1 minute clip now?
What? So you can show how perfect you are compared to
I'll
me?
probably mess up now that I mean, I can only go down from there.
Well, that is true. You fucked up by being too perfect to begin with. So yeah, sure. Let's do
All
one.
right, let's do it. I mean, we can always cut it. We can always not.
No, I mean, I'll try. I'm trying to think of what it is that I would.
You could talk about some of the techniques that you heard that you thought would work. We're just talk about this guy in his video.
Zero. Okay.
None? Okay, I'll go first then. You want me to go first?
Yeah, how about you go first, and then maybe I can play a little bit off of what you say this time around. Yeah, let's reverse causality here.
Let's do it.
You ready?
Uh-huh.
You're on.
Now I know I'm gonna mess up because I can just feel it coming already. The best tip that I got was not in this video, actually. The best tip that I had was the swallowing technique. I swear to God, that's what works. Sometimes you ever find it hard to swallow? Sometimes I get like all fucking nervous and I can't swallow. Does that ever happen to you?
Sometimes, yeah.
So I shouldn't involve you in my 1 minute because that's probably
I'm
breaking.
trying not to respond to you, but
The other thing that I really liked that he said was the period technique. And I like to imagine myself going, period. And that doesn't really work that well, obviously, as you can tell. The other thing that he said that was quite trying for me, which I'm doing right now, is not making eye contact. When I'm fetching information, I tend to look all around. I've been called out for this in book club as well. I am trying to process something or gather information, and I look up, around, anywhere except at someone.
Okay,
I think that I know I said like so many times.
I have to tell you, I only counted like one time where it was clearly disfluent in the earlier part, where the rest of it seemed like you were using it to describe your use of things. So I felt like those, like me saying like there, I felt like is me, about to expand on a thought. It's not a filler word. So I feel that
saying I feel like, but even saying I feel like is one of those things that I shouldn't do. He was talking about hedging words. I hedge a lot. I'm not disfluent, but I hedge too much.
So there's something. Well, maybe we should record me because I have an idea now.
You have your okay, ready?
Yeah, this way I have something to talk about, because if I have to imagine something, I'm gonna make all kinds. I will take everything that he said not to do and mash them together in something that you can also add.
Perfect. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I think I'm going to be.
Deep breath. 3, 2, 1.
One of the things that I think affects me the most is this idea about being succinct, making short statements. Imagine myself using a period is very difficult when you're extemporaneously speaking and extrapolating. There I am, I'm umming. Now I'm aware of it, and I'm going to use my time to describe how aware I am. This is terrible. But so, as an example, when in the corporate world, you're in a reasonably high position, you will make statements that are very succinct. You're often synthesizing something and reducing the statements of others who have gone on at length. Typically, the higher up you go, the fewer things you say. And it's really important that the fewness of the things you say have the gravitas of a period. However, this is like a kind of code switching in which I'm doing the exact opposite. I'm not saying anything definitive at all. I am taking ideas and trying to weave together a series of things that maybe give rise to something new. And in so doing, there is no period. I don't know where the period is, and I'm not really planning to end the statement. In fact, the
Maybe
statement
you should.
The statement in a lot of ways is pulling me along, and I am a puppet of the thought.
Ooh,
so
a puppet of thought.
I'm a thought puppet, not a sock puppet.
Damn.
I'm a thought puppet.
Damn, boo, he's a thought puppet.
Yeah. So I just did so. Am I done? Am I still going?
You're done. I said you're done like 10 fucking
I didn't hear you because I was too busy being a thought puppet. I was too busy being a thought puppet.
And then I said done, but you ignored me.
But you can see the different kinds of cognition give way to different kinds of expression.
Agreed. This is very difficult to do because we're laughing and joking. But I've heard many a podcast where people are doing the same thing and they don't use quite as many filler words as we do. But again, we're only on 1 month of doing this.
Yeah, this is very new. So when you think about how in book club, and we have separate conversations, but you'll talk maybe for a few minutes. You'll make a point. You might have a dialogue with someone else that winds up kind of spiraling out, and then other people join in, and you're typically making shorter statements. It's not as easy to have a conversation that goes on for an hour or more, in which it's just the two of us playing off of each other.
Entirely new information as well.
Right. It's entirely new. I had never read that Stephen Jay Gould paper. We did the Industrial Society and its future thing that's coming out there. There are things that I've never been exposed to, never talked about before, and I'm having my first conversation with you live, and it is. Well, I mean, there's only a little bit that's planned. We grab a couple of quotes and say, here's an idea. I don't know what you're going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say in response to the thing that you say that's going to be novel to me, inherently.
That's what I love about it, though, is we're not just talking about cultural things or bullshit. We're actually talking about something intellectually substantial and just going with it. It's really fucking fun. I just love it. And this was super fun as well.
Yeah, this was a really good time.
It was kind of torturous.
It's very torturous. I think for me, I will have a hard time using things like periods. I think, just like you, I think the swallowing technique will work pretty well for me. And I need to be able to control my breath, I think, a little bit. I'm not going to be any less excitable. I am not going to make any less meandering statements. It's just the way that I think, and I don't want to be as constrained as I normally am in my, my day-to-day, business life. So the whole idea is to be a little bit. It's to think and try to discover something, maybe even completely new sometimes in the way that we're bandying these ideas around. So I
guess I won't use an air horn when you say Well, and the problem is that you and I will be hyper aware of it, but our audience will probably not, and we'll get better over time, I'm certain.
But maybe having that kind of structure will allow us to stop on occasion and know where the transitions are. As an example, when we did the self-reliance and friendship, as we spoke, even though we had quotes selected and there was probably a really good way to make it more succinct, we just found ourselves talking about ideas in this really expansive way that lent itself to being two podcasts in one sitting.
We didn't plan it that way, but
we didn't plan it that way. But this is so hard because I kind of prefer that. I like that. I don't know what the hell's. I like that. I don't know what the hell's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to confine it to structure. I think we have a fine structure, and if you don't like it, suck a dick. But I don't really care. I like our structure. I will try to structure it as best as I can. I think the one thing we can make better is to give a summary or a recap of the challenge. This is a podcast. I just realized this is not a 10-minute video or whatever. This is a podcast. This is an episode.
Yeah. And there are interesting ideas about what conversation is like and how ideas unfold and what it's like to live in a multitude of conversational worlds in which you have different kinds of speech. Yeah, and we got to react to ourselves being, well, obnoxious. Or at least me being so obnoxious that it probably took you 4 continuous days without sleep to edit.
I edited very little. I probably took only 10% of the ums out that really stood out. So friendship has a bit more ums. It's a little bit less funny. It's a little bit more serious. You have a tendency, once you get warmed up, to less. You probably do some of it out of nerves, but when the conversation gets flowing, so do you.
Yeah, I think I can.
I'm the opposite.
I can feel that.
I start saying because I'm comfortable. I think in friendship, I was describing a friendship and I said like a million times in describing it because I'm more comfortable and I'm having a conversation, especially about something personal.
Yeah. That
tends to get me in my valley girl mode, period.
Oh period. Period.
The other thing is I think I'm like I just said, therefore, like I was writing a paper. When I'm writing, I think of transition words quite often, but speech doesn't need that many transition words. Our speech does tend to shift gears radically. We'll go from one thing to another, and that's the great thing about it. But we still probably don't need as many transition words.
No, and we did talk a little bit about trying to find a way to add a little bit of structure. And I think that will help as well, because one of the things that might be impacting us is that we don't necessarily know, which is really good, but we don't really necessarily have an idea where the end point of a given idea is. So it can go on for, there's a so, but it's not like a so. It's just one so, which should be okay, maybe.
So butts on your underwear.
Yeah. So it's so. Fuck.
What else do you say though?
I lost my thought. the thought puppetry.
That's all, folks.
That is all.
It was
he had the best and feeling another the commodity. There was a guy I was following, and he was following friend like doing and so and I'm like, well, no, you are adapting to but the for
and
and what are the
thing like this they did
one in these so so highfalutinly abstract, and sometimes I neologize, and so I and especially for you putting
but yeah, I think
but that's still but and so well, right, it's that's it. I think the problem with people so
gee whiz,
like OMG.